Yo, yo. Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the Apostate Prophet. How is everybody doing? I hope everybody is having a fantastic little day. David, what's up, man? Why are you so red?
What?
Why are you so red? Why do you look so red?
Was Black Angel telling you to say that?
No. David, why are you so red in the face? Are you shy? SWASWD says Allah only made it appear as AP was late. Yes.
There you go. Here you go. Here you go. You happy now?
Yes. All station said there's one thing we all got to remember: never go full al zut. Hey, we don't make zut jokes here. This is a serious channel, and we don't want to offend anybody. PC Luv says free Iran most indeed. Dude, correct your color. What's wrong with you? You look like you're from some dumb movie. Ida, what's up, Ida? Hey, just popped in to say hello, and I'm off to bed. Have a good stream. Thank you so much, Ida. Thank you for popping in and popping out, and good night. Yo, Wes Huff, where you at? So today we're going to talk about Wes Huff. Hope everybody's well. How is everybody doing? If everybody's doing well, do not put one in the chat. So we're going to talk about Wes Huff and going to review some of the stuff that he said on the Sean Ryan show, where he was, which was I think published yesterday or the day before. He said some very, very interesting, very nice things about Islam, and analyzed Islam and pointed out why Islam is the most beautiful religion. So he criticized Islam. He pointed out that it's bad and that it copies things in a wrong way. So considering that this is very offensive, we are here to analyze it and to correct Wes Huff on his Islamophobic behavior. I have also extended an invitation to Wes Huff himself. I sent a link to him, said, hey, you may join at any time if you want to. Unfortunately, as I always do, I didn't do that much in advance. I just did that before I started the live
Yeah, that was like 7 minutes ago, man.
So it's very unlikely that he's actually going to join.
Why is Wes Huff running from AP?
So he might come here or he may not. I do not know. Ashma is unreliable. It's very reliable, always the same. Yes. Gemina Donati said, I slam, you slam, we all slam for Islam. Nice. I guess that's a tune for something that I do not know, because I don't know anything. David, what's up, man? What's been happening? Yesterday you were live with, was it yesterday? Yesterday you were live with Jake Brancatella, the Muslim metaphysician.
Yeah, that was super cool, man.
For like 6 hours or something. What happened, man? What's wrong with you?
The whole live stream, I think, was something like 8 hours. But yeah, me and Thaddeus went live, and we just went. He put together a video of why January is the worst month in Dawa history, all the messed up stuff, and he put together like a top 10 list of it's like Quran Demolition Ranch and Sheikh Uthman, all these antics and stuff running from God Logic and so on. Anyway, he put together a compilation, so we were going through that, not in the Zut sense, but we were going through that, and then Jake shows up in the chat. And I say, hey, man, just go ahead and what are you over there in the chat for? Why don't you just jump on? So Jake jumped on, and he had some complaints about my interview with my Mexican cousin, David Zagara. So David Zagara was on the day before going through various different Islamic dilemmas that arise theologically for over their claims about the Quran and the previous scriptures and so on. Anyway, Jake said that Islamic theology was being misrepresented, and so we talked for a while, and he clarified what his position is and what the Wahhabi position is. So we were sitting there talking, and he's about to head out, and then David Zagara shows up, and then he has a debate with Jake for like, I don't know, 2-3 hours or something like that. And then David Zagara, and they were debating basically Trinity versus Tawhid. They ended up debating like Trinity versus Tawhid stuff. So that was cool. And then David Zagara had to go. So then it was me and Thaddeus and Jake, and we ended up discussing the Islamic dilemma for a while until Jake had to go because he's traveling back to Morocco apparently. And yep, so cool times, man. But I was live before that with Giant DOC. So I was live for like basically 11 hours straight.
Oh, nice. You know, this whole thing kind of makes me change my perspective on Jake a little bit, because I don't know. You know, I had to debate with him during the DebateCon. You had a debate with him, and during the debate, I kind of I don't know. It's a little bit surprising and weird and mind-boggling, the kind of stuff that he argues. And I wonder sometimes if there's like malice, ulterior motives in how he presents his arguments, because they do not seem to really hold up, and like he makes very, very, very simple misrepresentations, and I wonder if it's like if he's lying and all that. And but when he joins you for a whole live stream for 6 hours, it's I kind of find that difficult to reconcile with him just being a full-blown liar, because he seems to be kind of interested in actually sitting down and talking. So I don't know, man.
Oh,
And
yeah.
we also
And,
had very nice interactions with him at DebateCon, so which might have led to further good interactions between us, which is a good thing.
yeah, but there's a problem, because there are people who don't want any good interactions. And so as soon as he went live with us, Malik started flipping out and sending him messages and stuff like that. So he was actually like reading that. He wasn't reading them out loud, but he was telling us why he was distracted. He's reading all these threats from Malik, who's threatening to expose him for all this stuff. And so Malik was losing his mind, and then apparently Malik went live or something like that. I don't know what, or just started posting somewhere. But yeah, Malik was flipping out, and then Malik eventually said that he's going to soon, like this week or something like that, do his final stream. He's going to expose everyone and then leave TikTok, which, given that he never follows through on like 98% of what he says, I believe him. Well, I was going to say I believe him that he'll like snitch on a bunch of people, because we've seen him do that before. But I think when he says in advance that he's going to do it, hey, this week I'm going to do it, he basically wants all the Dawa guys calling and begging him not to expose him and bribing him or something like that. But his claim that he's going to just leave TikTok after this. Come on, the dude has failed at everything else in life, and he's got a couple hundred stupid teenage followers on TikTok that think that he's a real gangster because he snitches on everybody and doxes everybody. But yeah, sure, we'll continue hearing from Malik until we're done with him. Remember, Malik, it's over when I say it's done.
You see, yeah. Wes just messaged me back, and I think he's considering it. He might join us here. I told him we are blasting him, not in the Zoot sense. But
well, since you're blasting me, I'm gonna come over here and talk about the magic crystal. This guy had believed in magic crystals.
Dude, this is not Mike Winger, man. Oh, you're mocking Wes Huff?
He did debate that dude who believes in all this magic crystal stuff.
Oh yeah, that's true. So I guess we could jump right into it. Here is Wes Huff, also known as the guy that David Wood tries to be.
Look, Wes Huff is drunk in a bar.
You see. It has been David's greatest ambition to one day be just like Wes Huff, but we all know this is not possible. So we may just review this and see what happens. Before that, I want to take a few live super chats here. Will says, if we send 30 Al-Zut jokes, we can out Al-Zut AP. This is true. Norden Desuki says, were the Al-Zut Muhammad's Valentine? Yes, they were.
Dang. How have I not shared a video as one of my Zoot videos for Valentine's Day? Hang on. I got to go do that.
Catholic S'more says, AP Theotokos Rosaries. Check it out. Good stuff. I know of them because what's his name, man? It's very terrible of me not to remember his name. Pines with Aquinas. What's his name? Matt Fred, yeah. Matt Fred gave me one of those rosaries, actually, and I appreciate it very much. I think I lost it somewhere. But yeah, I love them. They're awesome. Verbor van de Veld says, Valentina Gomez pretty crazy, but I'm so conflicted. That sounds pretty perverted of you. Ash May's baptism likely Easter. AP cat human mubah all the time. Definitely Kati Mubarak. Are you getting baptized, Ashmaze? Likely this Easter?
Based.
Oh, that is pretty based. That is pretty based. All right. And congratulations in advance. Just let us know. What kind of Baptist is that all around all that alcohol? Oh yeah, he's a Baptist, isn't he?
Yep, he's in there totally wasted. That's why they call him Wasted Wes. They say, look at, hey, here comes Wasted Wes Huff. Always surrounded by all the alcohol.
Nice. All right, man. Let's have a look. Let's have a listen here. Epstein liked to travel to Muslim nation than Israel. Yeah, according to the latest documents, Jeffrey Epstein really didn't like Israel, but he loved the Kaaba. And I'm wondering why David hasn't made a video about that. And he also designed a building in his on his island to look like a Muslim mosque, like a mosque, and also ordered the cloth of the Kaaba to be delivered to his island and all that. Did you hear all that stuff, man?
Yeah, and yeah, so especially the he wanted the Kaaba cloth as a rug, which I mean, I don't know what his intentions are. He maybe have had all sorts of weird beliefs and believed in weird spiritual powers of thing, or wanted it as like a trophy or something. I don't know what the heck, but I mean, he was actually working. He had to work with people there to get it. I have to say, I wouldn't mind having the Kaaba cloth as a rug. I wouldn't do it now just because Epstein did it, but I like the idea having the Kaaba cloth as a rug that you walk on every day.
Nice. Very nice. Catholic s'mores, you lost it. Shameful display. I know I did lose it. That's what happens. The last rosary that I was carrying with me, I actually left at David's house on his desk.
Yep.
Yeah.
Looking around for it.
Upper Baker, Up Puff Daddy, epic 8-hour live stream. David Wood, what was Jake saying?
Go watch the
live stream.
Yeah, watch a live stream. Why are you asking, man?
Yeah.
But watch it later after this one's done.
Yes. All right. Okay.
Realizing that this world is hard, that our burdens aren't meaningless. Some Eastern philosophies like Buddhism and Taoism and Shintoism, you read some of these writings and the way that they talk about struggle and pain and suffering.
Okay, I started a little bit beforehand because I thought every second spent listening to Wes Huff is good, although David doesn't like it. But let's get to the Quran.
God says, there's a future tense of the fact that God says, I'm going to make all things new. But he also says this world is going to be hard. And this world is going to be full of pain and struggle. But I've overcome the world. And so all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me, Jesus says. And as part of that, I think the calling is less of Jesus is just a fixer who's going to solve all our problems. Jesus isn't a genie. But the relational component is that God wants us to come to him. He wants us to be honest. He wants us to be transparent because he can understand those things. And the reassurance in that is that it's not a God that just creates and sets the dials in motion and then steps back and says, well, I hope everything works out.
See, David, why don't you ever talk like this, man?
Because I'm not a nerd.
You could be a better person.
I can try. Okay, I'll just talk like this, AP. Okay, everyone. AP says, why can't I talk like this? I can. I just, normally choose not to because normally not a goal in life to sound like this for anyone except Mike Winger and obviously Wes Huff. I think this is it's called Nerd Chic. No, Geek Chic or something like that. Geek Chic.
Let's see how all these little people can figure themselves out, and I hope it works out. No, God desires.
I was calling us all little people. Mm-hmm. That's pretty offensive, man.
Are good, but that good doesn't necessarily mean that everything is going to work perfectly in this world. Look at the apostles. Look at Jesus himself. You know, all of the apostles, after coming to the realization.
Wait a minute. His message said, "Did you guys see Ben Shapiro call Candace the hard R?"
I did see that. That was a short clip. Yeah, because she was posting, you want to use a hard R, and then he went and said, "You're right, I do. Here it is," and he did.
That was actually a pretty good video. I was quite
That was
surprised.
it was like under a minute, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was actually a very nice thing that Ben
Come
Shapiro.
on, you want to just play it, man.
It might be the best thing that Ben Shapiro ever did. So I really do.
Very special.
I really do want to play it. Actually, I forgot about that. So Ben Shapiro made fun of Candace's pronunciation of things. Candace, in response, started sounding like a 2016 leftist progressivist person who was like, "Oh, and it's because I'm black, Ben. I know, because you people, you want to control me and oppress me, and you want to put me in chains. And come on, I know you want to say the word. I know you want to say the word, and you want to use the hard R while saying the word. It's like, what the heck does that have to do with anything, man?" She's completely losing it, and somehow trying to argue that because Ben Shapiro is making fun of her, Ben Shapiro actually wants to enslave her and call her the N-word and all that. So Ben Shapiro responded to that with this video.
I have a very special message today. This one goes out to Candace Owens. I know that you felt very hurt, Candace, that I made a few lighthearted jests about your inability to pronounce basic English and also German words. So hurt that you said I wanted to use the hard R. Candace, I was wrong. Anyone can make a mistake, but I'd bet Brigitte Macron's balls that eventually you will be able to pronounce words like
blitzkrieg, macabre, the architecture, posthumously compartmentalize, kerfluffle.
Oh, but you were right about one thing. I did want to use the hard R. You are retarded.
Ben After Dark. Very different from Dawa After Dark or Zut After Dark.
That was pretty good, man.
It was
a very befitting response, because Kenneth, of course, expects them to start fighting and start a war, and he's just making fun of her. It's basically what she deserves. Man. Anyway, let's get back to series.
Did you? But AP, did you like the authentic German pronunciation of the word? Did it remind you of being home when she pronounced Blitzkrieg?
Blitzkrieg. I've had some Blitzkriegs. I had some Blitzkriegs this morning.
That would be funny. I mean, like, where could you do
scrambled Blitzkrieg?
It'd be funny if there was like a restaurant for all the who's that? Jake Shields and Nick Fuentes and so on, and it's like a breakfast place, and they have Blitzkriegs.
That'd be very funny.
Yeah, everyone.
Hey, that's what this dude. That's what Wes Huff sounds like.
Like what?
He speaks exactly like Nick Fuentes and Mike Winger.
They all talk like this.
Anyway,
that's funny, man.
Realization that their rabbi rose from the dead, and that the claims that he made about himself were true, saw that proclamation and the new life that was a possibility for others as something worth suffering and dying for. And although we can't be sure of all the martyrdom stories, that they're rock solid about all the apostles, we know that they at minimum suffered pain and persecution for that. And they desired that. Not that they were going out to get hurt, but they understood that, you know, the God who loves us is worth knowing personally, because the God who loves us cares about us when we are in those seasons of my God, why have you forsaken me? And in the seasons of the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want.
hey, it's an old guy. Who's this?
Very deep thoughts.
For some reason, I saw what's the
Where do
guy's
you
name?
think-
Ryan something?
This is Sean Ryan.
Yeah, for some reason, I saw the name Sean Ryan show, and I assumed it was like some 17-year-old or something like that. No idea why. Just the name Sean Ryan sounds like a...
I was saying everyone whose name is Sean is like is a child or something.
Yeah. Especially Sean with a W. That sounds like some young guy, man.
Nice.
Um,
That makes complete sense.
hey. Now if Wes is doing these interviews and stuff from local bars and so on, how long do you think before he's on one of those Myron Gaines shows where he's surrounded by all the OnlyFans chicks?
Or on the whatever podcast, which is a very, very strange podcast. And I really have lots of questions for people who watch that podcast. I have a lot of questions.
We were before we were born.
I don't think we existed before we were born.
You think that it's just, you don't think, I mean, when you hear the term old soul, does that mean anything to you?
No, I think
Hey, what is this? Why is this chapter titled Bible versus Quran? But we're halfway through and they don't.
Yeah, did they mislabel it or something like that? I have to say, now that I've heard Sean speak, he actually sounds cool and bass. Got a cool voice. We're going to talk about this.
Well, so
Okay, yeah, let's talk about that.
yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's a turn of phrase. You know, it is interesting. I've thought about this with every kid that's been born of mine. You know, it's so crazy that a new life just pops into existence. And that is something like I can see the personality of the baby, and I can see how my wife's personality and my person.
See, Westhoff doesn't even know how babies are born. He thinks that they just pop into existence out of nowhere.
Yeah.
isn't it amazing how like a baby will just pop into existence and oddly enough has the like part of the personality of my wife and part of my personality.
Yeah.
And then
No.
you know, I used to think that the stork would bring them, but then now I know they just appear.
Are articulated in my sons and my daughters, and how amazing that is. And that fact is a little bit incomprehensible. But I don't believe in the pre-existence of souls. I don't think that that's something that scripture articulates in a way that's concrete. But I think there's a divine mystery to the act of life. How does non-life produce life? We don't really have an answer to that question in terms of a scientific pursuit. And even the fact that, you know, this how many pounds of
Speak for yourself.
Yeah.
David has an answer to it.
You know what's funny? What's funny is when he's like, and each child like gets a part of our personality is so amazing. Whereas like with my kids, I'm like, oh, they got this screwed up part of me, and dang, this one seems like he's a psychopath. It's things like that.
No, I really wonder when exactly the Quran thing comes in.
You might have to just start clicking around until you find it. They completely mislabeled this. Yeah, it's hey, here's the Islam section, and it's hey, isn't it amazing that babies are born and they spontaneously pop into
I just searched
existence?
the transcript. The Quran first appears in a transcript at 1 hour and 1 minute, while the Bible versus Quran section starts at 52 minutes.
Well, just let it play for a while, man, or skip to it.
I mean, I kind of do want to play it because it's interesting. Wait, Islam starts earlier here. Islam starts after the Bible versus Quran section is over. That's kind of funny. Dude.
of gray matter in my brain is able to ponder those questions is pretty crazy in and of itself.
Yeah.
If we really think about it, why can I trust this? If this is a product of time plus matter plus chance, what?
Now the thing is, I want to listen to this whole thing because it's very interesting, but I also don't want Sean Ryan to copyright strike me or something. So
Yeah. Do we know if he's
is he cool? Anybody know
we don't know. Some people let you go. Some people, if you post 10 seconds of their stuff, all of a sudden you get a copyright thing.
is he cool? Hey, are you cool?
We
The
don't know.
break. So all that wasn't on the outline before this, but so now I want to get into your story. Born in Pakistan?
Mhm.
What were you doing over there? Or what were your parents doing over there?
Yeah, that's right. Usually when I cross the border,
Well,
and
I'm
people
obviously
look-
Pakistani.
Yeah, right. Born in Pakistan. Where's your accent then?
Yeah. Where's your beard, dude?
Where's your accent?
Where's your beard?
Why do you look like this?
Yeah.
If you were born in Pakistan, you would talk completely differently.
Yeah. Where's your chicken biryani?
my passport, they ask military or missionary, because why else would a guy that looks like me be born in Pakistan?
Yeah.
And it's missionary.
That was pretty racist.
Mm-hmm.
Based.
Yep.
Yeah, you're white.
That's racist.
So my parents were missionaries in the early 90s in Pakistan. So I was born there, but we weren't there for very long because the Gulf War broke out and Pakistan sided with Saddam Hussein. So it wasn't safe to be in Pakistan anymore. And so we eventually came back to Canada. And then my parents went back to the missions field where my dad worked in Amman, Jordan, where for a short time he was the chaplain at the British Embassy.
Hold up. This is actually cool, man.
What's cool?
No, this is seriously cool. It's like he comes from a family of missionaries to Muslims. That's pretty okay. Thought this guy was like the biggest nerd since Mike Winger, but I mean, he still is, but he's got a cool backstory. A little bit.
Don't attack. Don't offend Mike Winger. Mike Winger is one of the best people out there.
Very short stint in my childhood. I actually went back after I graduated high school. I went back to Jordan, but it was very different because when I was there as a child, we were in Amman, and it was very rural.
I have to say, when I hear Pakistan, I just think of this.
These are the students who are the future of Pakistan, and they are representing in the world Pakistan. I love Pakistan. I will sacrifice my life for Pakistan. I love Pakistan.
Wes Huff's parents are like, all right, we got to get our kid out of here. He's going to start acting just like this. Imagine Wes Huff.
I love Pakistan. I love Pakistan. It's so great.
Oh my God.
Yeah, Pakistan.
My plan is that I will be pilot and I'll help everyone. Pilot.
Yeah, he's a pilot. Great. You see, this is the spirit. We love Pakistan.
My pledge to my country is that when I will grow up, I will be the scientist like Dr. Abdul Qadir Khan, who helped Pakistan in making the nuclear power.
Inshallah, we have a bright future.
Inshallah.
And or very urban. And then when I went back, it was very rural. I was working with Bedouin with a tuberculosis clinic.
Oh, wow.
And so it's a very different experience. Even the language, the Arabic that the Bedouin spoke, the locals said, like, don't worry, we can't understand them either. So it was but it was great. And I think formed a lot of my desires and interests in even something like inquiry into Islam, having understood what a majority Muslim perspective was and some of the things that might like not totally compute if you were just learning about something like a worldview like Islam from a book.
Look at this. A regular conversation, 1 hour. He was asked about his life, and immediately he starts senselessly attacking Islam. What is this, man? Jan Kus the Great said an 8-hour live stream. Give me time. I'll catch up. Good. Do it. Weerboer van die Welt says, Weerboer van die Welt says, I love strong women like Miss Gomez. Does pull-ups and can use a pew-pew. She'd be my ideal woman if she has a kind heart. Hope she's not serious about her views.
And she's like, of course, we have to know how to use a pew-pew because someone has to protect the goats.
Yes. Kit Kat, Mike Jones' favorite fan. Hey, what's up, Kit Kat? Can't believe you missed an awesome live last night, AP. I know, I was busy. Gokudo, I just joined. Why is AP streaming with a flashback of David Wood? Because the real David Wood is not available. Jack Ray says, do we have a team to clean up our Zoot speech if Wes Huff joins? Yes, we do, of course.
Well, some people are too nerdy to even like understand a Zoot joke. So we it's like talking about kids, and parents can talk about stuff around their kids because the kids don't get it. It'd be kind of like that.
If Wes comes and joins the live stream, everybody chat, let's immediately stop all the Zoot jokes.
Yeah, everyone will be on their best behavior.
Yeah, and if I see a Zoot reference or something in the super chat, I will just say, "What is this? I have no idea what this is about." We'll just act like I have no idea what's going on because we don't want Wes Huff to be exposed to the El Zoot.
Yeah, he's already dealing with being exposed to a room full of alcohol.
Yes. El says, "Wait, why is David black and white?" David is not black and white. He's very complicated, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some gray.
Jack Ray, do we have to clean up our Zoot speech if Wes Huff joins? Yes. Jack Ray gifted 10 memberships. Jack Ray always gives 10 memberships because Jack Ray is based.
It is totally based.
Thank you, Jack Ray. Finding Nino says, AP, what do you think about debating Jay Dyer? I sent JD a super chat saying he should debate you, and he said you won't to debate him. If there's any debate I'd be interested in, would be AP versus Jay Dyer. God bless.
What would that even be on? What would you guys debate?
I'm not entirely sure what I would debate him about. I don't think there's anything that we need to debate. I mean, what we did was just to nicely sort things out and go separate ways, and there is nothing that I can think of to have a debate with Jay Dyer on, so we are very, very different, and I do not think there's anything that we need to debate or settle.
That's a weird dude, isn't it?
Dude, why are you attacking Jay Dyer now, man?
I mean, weird in a cool way, because he'll seem super serious and intense, but then he'll just do these hilarious
we're having a nice
parodies and impressions of people and stuff like that.
Having a nice conversation. You're like, what a weirdo, Jay Dyer. Such a weirdo.
What's that pastor he does? Oh yeah, Pastor Randy Bowles. What a nut, man. That's right. It's like if you just listen to him talking about stuff for a while, you wouldn't expect him to all of a sudden break into Pastor Randy Bowles.
I know he is a little bit. It is a little bit confusing. He's like, no, it's exactly as you said. I would probably just be repeating what you just said. He is super serious and kind of strange sometimes, but then you have a nice conversation with him, and he suddenly breaks into this whole completely funny role. So, yeah, I have nothing against him. Yeah. The Great Falafel Intifada. Mamdani tells Americans how Mo was immigrant in Medina. I saw that too. Hence, we should welcome illegals in New York. Curiously, he doesn't tell what happened to the people in Mecca when he gained power and retook Mecca. I know, I saw that. I recently saw that. He gave a speech about Muhammad, and based on that, was talking about welcoming everybody. And of course, David, as lazy as he is, didn't really make a video about that.
We could. I mean, the point there would be you'd title it something like, is Mamdani dog whistling jihadis? Because it's basically, hey, isn't it great that Muhammad was an immigrant in Medina, just like we are here? And what did Muhammad do? He took over the city and expelled and killed all the Jews.
Yeah. That's what he did.
That's what you're pointing to as a great pattern for everyone?
Medina was turned into a flourishing city by a Jewish community, by Jewish communities. So Medina was a struggling city, according to the history. It was called Yathrib before, but it was called Medina. It was a struggling city, torn by tribal conflicts and all. And the Jewish merchants turned the city to a proper city. Muhammad came to Medina and established there his state, and ended up eradicating the Jews, basically, finding excuses for each tribe, and then mass executing them and kicking them out. That's what he did. And then he used that point to establish his power from Medina and to attack Mecca and conquer that too, and eradicate Arab polytheism. So what a great example for progressivist refugee policies, isn't it? What a fantastic example. Jesus Loves You SM said Spider Noir starring David Wood. Nice. I didn't know you were in the.
Did you? How?
I'm in black and white.
Islam did you get? Yes. Well, did you? How far into Islam did you get?
Not as far as the Zoot got into Muhammad. Come on, you can't. Guy gave you a layup, man. He set you up for the alley-oop, man. He set you up for the alley-oop.
I was thinking it, and I thought, no, I shouldn't be saying it. Dude, it was too obvious.
Did you? How far into Islam did you get?
Well, I researched it pretty heavily. Like I read the Quran cover to cover a few times, and connected with some people who were doing academic work on the Quran. There was a period when I was in university where there were other Muslim students who during Ramadan, they would read the Quran from beginning to end, and I would do it with them, almost as a way to establish relationships, but also to talk through some of these things. And then I would also share some of what I was reading in the Bible as well. But in my 4-year undergraduate degree, I probably read the Quran 5 or 6 times.
Wow.
And in English, mind you, never in Arabic.
And now he's an Islamophobe. Very, very bad. See how that happens?
Which my Muslim
Always
friends
happens
say
these
you don't
days.
read the Quran because it only exists in Arabic, right? An English translation they wouldn't consider properly being a Quran. But I read quite a bit of the adjacent stuff, the Hadith and the Sunnah, and then the Sirat Rasul Allah, the biography of the Prophet of Muhammad, Ibn Ashaq. So I was genuinely interested in it because of the interplay historically.
David, don't try to correct him and say Ibn Ishaq. It is quite obvious to accidentally mispronounce it because it's an S and an H side by side.
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, you know what's funny? I used to do that as well. I used to say Ishaq, and Nabil would go, "It's Ishaq." And but what was funny was I still kept doing it, Ishaq, and he got annoyed. He goes, "It's Ishaq. It's just like Isaac. Isaac. There's no Ishaq. It's Ishaq, like Isaac." But he kept going, "It's just like Isaac. It's just like Isaac." And finally I go, "It's not like Isaac at all. Isaac. That's different from Ishaq. Quit saying it." Anyway, classic memory. It's just like Isaac. It's just like Isaac. It's not like Isaac, man. Anyway.
With Christianity and Islam. And also just trying to figure out, okay, well, what are the claims of this worldview? Could they actually be legitimate compared to something?
Look how he's flexing his muscles
Yeah, he always does that.
without any reason. He's just there like, oh, look at my muscles, by the way, while I'm talking about this thing.
Yeah. Wes Huff's one of those dudes who's like, right before the interview, he's like, I have to go. I have to run to the bathroom for number 1. And he goes in there and just does a bunch of push-ups to get it to get blood flow in those muscles. And then he comes down, okay, I'm ready. Here I am, all natural.
Yeah. And when he forgets to work out before the interview, he gets all anxious, stressed out. He's like, oh no, I forgot. What am I going to do?
What am I going to do? I'm not going to be buff enough.
Yeah.
No one will take me seriously if I'm not buff enough.
Stop distracting from the video, man.
I was raised to believe. And ultimately, I found them very wanting.
Really? What did you say?
That was funny. That's sort of condescending. And so I investigated all this and I found them very wanting. That was funny.
I found them very wanting. I was raised to believe. And ultimately, I found them very wanting.
Really? What would you say? What are some of the main teachings in the Quran?
Well, I think Islam has an issue in that there are historical articulations of what's going on in the biblical stories that are just false. So the main one would be...
Ooh, dude, you can't say that, man. This is Islamophobic.
In the Quran, Surah 147, it denies the crucifixion. So it says that it has the Jews speak. Surah 147, it denies the crucifixion. So,
David, which verse is that?
Surah 4, verse 157.
Okay, so he misspoke there.
What did he say?
In the Quran, Surah 147.
He said Surah 147. Wes, there's no Surah 147, man. Come on.
Dude, he was trying to say the right thing. He just misspoke.
Crucifixion.
Dawa, guys.
So it...
Clip it. Attack him left and right.
This guy doesn't even know what the surahs are in the Quran.
All right.
It says that it has the Jews speaking and say, "Be crucified, Jesus, the son of Mary," which is kind of an odd thing. If the Jews believed he was the Messiah, that they were crucifying him. And then it says that he was not crucified, nor was he killed, but it was made to appear to them. And so there's a face value.
So I want to take the verse that he mentioned and put it on the screen. It's actually a very significant one, especially for Christians, but also for historians, probably. Surah 4, so Quran chapter 4, verse 157. According to the Sahih International Translation, and for their saying, indeed, we have killed the Messiah, Jesus, the son of Mary, the messenger of Allah. And they did not kill him, nor did they crucify him, but another was made to resemble him to them. And indeed, those who differ over it are in doubt about it. They have no knowledge of it, except the following of assumption, and they did not kill him for certain. Another version by Pickthall, the translation says, and because of their saying, we slew the Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary, Allah's messenger. Why are they talking like this? It's always kind of weird how people are quoted in the Quran. The Jews are there. The Jewish people who did not, or those who did not accept Jesus as the Messiah, are there and say, we have killed the Messiah, Jesus, son of Mary, Allah's messenger. Does it sound like a real scene to anybody? It's so dumb. They slew him not, nor crucified him, but it appeared so to them. And those who disagree concerning it are in doubt thereof. They have no knowledge thereof, save pursuit of a conjecture. They slew him not for certain. So the Quran is clearly denying the crucifixion and saying that it did not happen, but that it appeared to them as if they had killed Jesus, which is simply a ridiculous talking point that nobody takes seriously. And the only reason to take this seriously is that you are a Muslim and you believe that the Quran is revealed by Allah, and therefore, if it tells you something happened, then you must believe that it did indeed happen.
Denial of the crucifixion. Now
They say that he was real.
Yes. So Muslims believe in Jesus. In fact, Jesus is mentioned 25 times.
You see?
Far more than even Muhammad is mentioned in the Quran.
We respect Jesus more than you. You see?
If you think of the traditional Islamic narrative of Muhammad being a 7th century caravaner.
Dude, when you say Muhammad, you're...
Get the hell out of here!
That was an accident. When you say Muhammad, you're supposed to say... Okay.
I think it makes sense for some of the stories that you find of whether that's Abraham or Noah or Jesus, John the Baptist, Mary, who are in the Quran. Because I think what's probably going on is that you have an individual, if we're accepting the traditional narrative, that there was a historical Muhammad, that he's a caravaner, that he's traveling in and around the Arabian Peninsula up into areas like Syria and Jordan. He's being exposed to Christians and Jews. And I mean, the traditional narrative is that he was illiterate. So he's not reading these stories. He's hearing them orally. But because there's really no exposure to what we call the Old and the New Testaments, and even then it's up for debate whether they existed in Arabic as Arabic existed in like 7th century Hijazi script at that point in time anyways. But he would have been hearing these stories with no kind of discerning ability to differentiate between fables and campfire stories about these characters and what were the actual historically reliable, non-apocryphal documents.
They called him the ear. They called Muhammad the ear, ladies and gentlemen. And they said, why? They said it's because he believes whatever anyone tells him. And what you find is, yeah, exactly as Wes was pointing out there, if Muhammad only knows if Muhammad only knows about the previous scriptures and the previous prophets and so on, based on what he's hearing, guess what? There are all kinds of stories circulating there. Some of them true, some of them were basically like bedtime stories. Muhammad could not tell the difference. You'd expect a true prophet to maybe be able to tell the difference, but.
Yeah, so he's making an important point here. Arabic was not a very useful language back in the 7th century.
Yep, not anymore, not even now. It's useless.
And in the 7th century, to our knowledge, there was not an Arabic Bible in existence, or a complete Bible in existence, a New Testament, a New and Old Testament. I'm not even sure. Was there like an Old Testament even in existence? I'm curious about that now.
In Arabic, I don't think so.
I wonder if I can quickly get some insight into that.
It was a useless language.
There might not even have been an actual Torah in existence translated into Arabic at that time, which is quite funny. So there was no written version in Arabic of the Bible at all, or not a complete version. There were probably fragments. There were probably parts translated, parts written down. There were certain texts written down, but in Arabic, or the Arabic-speaking populations generally simply had their understanding of the Bible from through oral tradition, through hearsay. According to one of the traditions, Muhammad's first wife's cousin, Waraka, was actually in the process of trying to translate the scripture, the Bible, into Arabic. Although I have trouble trusting that account entirely, trusting accounts of that guy Waraka and what he actually did, if he actually existed and what he actually suggested. Because according to the Islamic narrative, he was the cousin of Muhammad's first wife. When Muhammad first had his cave revelations and was choked by the angel Gabriel in Arabic, Jibril, he went to his wife, and his wife then called his cousin. His wife then called her cousin over, who was supposedly a new Christian convert, who supposedly confirmed to Muhammad that he is a prophet from Allah, the same way that biblical prophets are prophets of Allah. And that whole narrative seems a little bit strange, unless that cousin, who was supposedly a Christian convert, was simply a part of some fringe heretical group or something like that. It would be very unusual for a learned, knowledgeable Christian to tell some lunatic in Arabia, "Oh yeah, you're a prophet according to our religion." What do you think, David?
It's
The earliest source
powerful, man.
material for Jesus are the 27 books that we call the New Testament. The earliest source material for non-apocryphal documents. So the earliest source material for Jesus are the 27 books that we call the New Testament, primarily the biographies of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. But there are other stories that are apocryphal in nature, that talk about, say, Jesus, what Jesus was like as a child. So there's one called the Arab Infancy Gospel of Thomas. And the Arab Infancy Gospel of Thomas has a story about child Jesus. Now, this is coming a long time after Jesus. Everyone who knew Jesus was dead by the time these stories were developing. But the biblical Gospels are very sparse on what Jesus was like as a child. The Gospel of Luke has a very brief story of Jesus when he's 12, going to the temple with his family and teaching in the temple, and Mary and Joseph forget him in Jerusalem and then have to go back. But so there's a body of literature that pops up that's basically talking about, well, what was Jesus like as a child? And so infancy narratives become kind of this very popular, if we want to call them fan fiction, it's not really like a proper historical designation, but kind of like that. And one of these is the Arab Infancy Gospel of Thomas, which has a story about Jesus making clay birds by a riverbank. And then some of the Jews get mad at him because it happens to be the Sabbath, and he's working on the Sabbath. And so the story goes that he breathes on the birds, they turn into real birds, and the evidence flies away. This story ends up in the Quran. And we know that this is an apocryphal story. We know that it has no historical designation of actually being tied to the first century itinerant Jewish rabbi, Jesus of Nazareth. But it is something that would have been available potentially in oral form in the Arabian Peninsula in the 7th century.
No.
This is actually a very, very important point.
Very important point for multiple reasons. Like I think Christians have massively underestimated and underutilized the significance of the passage about Jesus giving life to clay birds. So you have two things. Normally we point to it because it's an obvious example of Muhammad not being able to tell the difference between a late apocryphal story that no one takes seriously and something that Jesus actually did. He couldn't tell the difference. That's how we normally use it. But you also have Jesus, which we point out, but I'm going to give everyone why we haven't really utilize this as much as we should. We sometimes point out that, isn't it interesting that Jesus creates in exactly the way Allah creates? So Allah creates man, he fashions man out of clay, breathes into man, and then man comes to life. Man comes to life. Jesus does the exact same thing with clay birds. He makes clay birds, breathes into them, and then they spring to life, right? So Jesus creates in the exact same way that Allah creates. Now, this is interesting because, one, you have to believe that it says that he did this by Allah's leave or with Allah's permission. But notice, if I say I give you permission to do this, that still means you have the ability to do that. So Jesus has the ability, even as a child, to give life, to make life. And it's like, well, why would that happen? I mean, think, because Christians conclude that Jesus is God. And in the Quran, you find Jesus creating in exactly the same way that Allah creates. It's like, well, if Allah let Jesus create in the same way Allah creates, can you blame people for concluding that he's God? Can you do that? But there's an interesting verse that ties into this, which I haven't seen people use this. I was just reading the Quran. I was like, why aren't we using this? It's Surah 46, verse 4, if I'm correct, and I'm definitely more correct than Wes Huff when he gives his.
Which verse is it?
I think it's 46:4. See what it says. See if I'm right.
Quran 46:4. Say, Muhammad, have you considered that which you invoke besides Allah? Show me what they have created of the earth.
You catch that? You catch that, guys?
Show me what they have created.
Yeah, he's condemning polytheism, and he commands Muhammad to say, "Have you considered that which you invoke besides Allah?" In other words, you're calling on other gods and goddesses, and he's criticizing them. And he says, "Show me what they have created of the earth." So, hey, if you're calling on these other gods and goddesses, show me what they've created. Isn't that interesting? Because the answer is supposedly, oh, no, they haven't created anything. So that's a criterion of knowing whether you should be invoking someone. Do they create something? Guess what? Jesus in the Quran itself creates life, and he does it in the same way Allah does. So can you invoke Jesus? Can you pray to Jesus according to the Quran? Yep, because he creates. Interesting.
So to elaborate this once again, in chapter 46, verse 4, it says, "Say, have you considered that which you invoke besides Allah? Show me what they have created of the earth." There are also other verses, such as 7:191, which says, "Do they associate with him those who create nothing, and they themselves are created?" It further says in chapter 35, verse 40, once again, something similar. "Say, have you considered your partners, the polytheistic gods, whom you invoke besides Allah? Show me what they have created from the earth, or have they partnership in heaven?" So Allah, as criteria for what you or who you can and cannot worship, offers what have they created. So if you create something, that probably qualifies you as Allah, as God, completely worthy of worship. However, if we go to Quran chapter 3, verse 49, for example, it says, "And a messenger to the children of Israel, who will say, Indeed, I have come to you with a sign from your Lord, in that I designed for you from clay, like the form of a bird. Then I breathe into it, and it becomes a bird by permission of Allah." This is Jesus speaking here. In the other verse, it's much clearer. Chapter 5, verse 110. "The day when Allah will say, O Jesus, son of Mary, remember my favor upon you and upon your mother when I supported you with the pure spirit, and you spoke to the people in the cradle and in maturity, and when I taught you writing and wisdom in the Torah and the gospel, and when you designed from clay the form of a bird with my permission, then you breathed into it, and it became a bird with my permission." So of course it adds here with my permission. But what Jesus is doing here, even according to the Quran itself, is that he is taking clay and forming birds out of clay and then breathing life into those clay birds, and thereby creating new life that does not exist. So he takes clay and actually breathes life into it. Breathing life into something is also something very, very significant. Let's put that aside for a second here. But so Allah says, well, why do you worship this guy? Have they created anything? And here is Jesus actually creating life. Of course, with Allah's permission. But why would Allah give the permission to do for somebody to do the very thing that qualifies you as a God worthy of worship, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the Quran should not be condemning people for worshiping Jesus.
Yeah, just imagine. I mean, Allah repeatedly in the Quran lays us down. Oh, yeah? You want to call on someone other than Allah? You want to assign a partner to Allah? You think Allah has partners? Well, show me what they've created. Psst, Jesus, go ahead and create some stuff.
I mean, that would mean that Allah himself is setting people up to worship Jesus.
That's exactly what it means. He's setting people up. And by the way, little side note. In the verse you pointed out, it's what have they created, even though they were created. You know, it says they were created. Muslims will say Jesus was created. And it's like his human nature, because keep in mind he's the word of Allah. As we heard from Jake yesterday, the speech of Allah is uncreated. Uh-oh. So Jesus is the word of Allah. The word of Allah is uncreated. So Jesus, as to his nature as the word of Allah, is uncreated, and he creates life by breathing into mere clay, just as Allah does. Little side note, though, in Surah 19, when the Spirit appears to Mary in the form of a man, the main Muslim position is that that's the angel Gabriel. The Quran never says that's the angel Gabriel, just says the Spirit showed up and breathed into Mary. And Allah, this is wild stuff, man. Allah says we breathed into her, but it's actually the Spirit who shows up to breathe into her. Allah says he breathed the Spirit into her vagina, but it says that the Spirit shows up to do this in the form of a man. Now, again, the dominant Muslim position is that this is the angel Gabriel. The Quran does not say that. But the secondary interpretation, even among Muslims, the secondary interpretation was this is actually Jesus, who is called in Surah 4, verse 171, a spirit from Allah. So they put that together. Wait, Jesus is a spirit from Allah. The Spirit shows up to breathe into Mary. This would be, if Jesus is the Spirit, then that would be Jesus breathing into Mary to once again create life. And you've got Allah saying, we did this. You got some serious implications for you don't want to say the Quran is deliberately promoting the deity of Christ, but it's just that's the problem that arises when the guy who's receiving these revelations is called the ear, because he just believes all these stories. But Muhammad doesn't understand the implications of the things he says. He hears Christians calling Jesus the Word and says, oh, Jesus is the Word. It's a title for Jesus, not understanding the implications of the things he's saying. But we could put together some interesting cases. In fact, since Muslims are still on this Jesus is a Muslim kick, we could start with Muhammad was a devout Christian who believed in the deity of Christ, and doing what they do. We'll pull out all these passages and so on, show that Muhammad affirmed the deity of Christ, and that anything that contradicts that was corrupted later on.
Now, there is another thing to add here, which is another critical point, and this is the second very critical point to add, which is, as said in chapter 5, verse 110, the Quran describes that Allah gives Jesus all these privileges, and that he gives him the ability to design clay birds and then to, notice, breathe into it and make it an actual live bird. Breathing into and thereby giving life is uniquely associated with God in Christianity, in Judaism, in multiple Middle Eastern cultures and mythologies of the time, which of course, you know, it's an important context because that is how people understand it throughout the entire region. So people see something and they think, oh, okay, this is something that a deity does. This is something that God does. So if it is something that only God does, and then Islam suddenly comes along and is like, oh, Jesus breathed life into a clay thing and it became an actual bird. I'm sorry, you are telling us that Jesus is doing something that is traditionally, that is historically, that is factually, that is in the Bible uniquely associated with God. It is
And
God
in the Quran.
himself.
And in the
Yeah.
Quran, it's Allah's the one who creates. And anytime someone, hey, I'm going to pray to this, I'm going to pray to this, I'm going to pray to this. Oh yeah, show me what they created. Now,
But
if you show me
specifically
what
the
they
breathing.
created, you got a point. You got a point, guys.
But
Oh, wait.
specifically the breathing. So if you breathe into, breathing into is something that God does. Breathing.
Mhm.
So
In the Quran too.
in Judaism, for example, this is based on the Bible itself. It is known that it is the Spirit of God Himself who, through His essence, creates and sustains human life. The same thing is accepted in Christianity. Of course, in Christianity, you could, I guess, you could have a discussion on whether saying the essence of God is entirely accurate or not. You could say it is an energy or something of God that only God Himself can provide and breathe into a human in order to create and sustain that life. But the point is that it is unique to God Himself. And here comes the Quran and says that Jesus breathes life into a bird and thereby basically declares Jesus God. And the other issue, of course, the third issue is, and this is where it gets very crucial, Wes Huff already mentioned it, but this whole account here directly comes from a text known as the Infancy Gospel of Thomas, which you can find online. I have it on my shelf somewhere. I read the whole thing. It is quite bizarre, but it is right here in the so-called Infancy Gospel of Thomas, which is a very well-known fabrication that was written much later, and that is very, very much incompatible in language and in the things that it says with the Bible, with the gospel narrative. But it says the following here: I, Thomas, an Israelite, write you this account that all the brethren from among the heathen may know the miracles of our Lord Jesus Christ in his infancy, which he did after his birth in our country. The beginning of it is as follows: This child Jesus, when 5 years old, was playing in the ford of a mountain stream, and he collected the flowing waters into pools, and made them clear immediately, and by a word alone he made them obey him. And having made some soft clay, he fashioned out of it 12 sparrows. And it was the Sabbath when he did these things. And there were also many other children playing with him. And a certain Jew, seeing what Jesus was doing, playing on the Sabbath, went off immediately and said to his father Joseph, Behold, your son is at the stream, and has taken clay and made of it 12 birds, and has profaned the Sabbath. And Joseph, coming to the place and seeing, cried out to him, saying, Why do you do on the Sabbath what it is not lawful to do? And Jesus clapped his hands and cried out to the sparrows and said to them, Off you go. And the sparrows flew and went off crying. And the Jews, seeing this, were amazed and went away and reported to their chief men what they had seen Jesus doing. So this comes directly from the most prominent story of this fabricated gospel, which is called the Infancy Gospel of Thomas. And the entire reason why this Infancy Gospel tells this story is to completely embellish and exaggerate Jesus and clearly depict him not simply as being God in the traditional Christian way, but also as being as doing godlike things throughout his entire life, including as a little child. So it depicts him as having the power of God, as acting as God, as a little child. And this is generally not something that is accepted in Christianity traditionally, which is also why this whole text invited skepticism very, very early on. It was then later on ruled to be complete nonsense and heretical. But Jesus is depicted in this text as completely unhuman and completely God from beginning to end, which is why this entire narrative exists. And Islam took this narrative, which only exists to show that Jesus was not human at all, but was fully a god. So Islam took a heretical narrative whose only purpose it is to amplify the divinity of Jesus, which just is ridiculous. You see how Islam simply adopts things without knowing what it adopts. That's what Islam does. You can't trust a single bit of it. Because Muhammad simply heard things that people said, such as these heretical stories, and adopted them without understanding what he's adopting. That's what they do.
That's what they do.
Gimina Donati says, errare humanum est. To make mistakes is human. Mistakes. To make mistakes is human. Carson Dimension. Ever met Asher Wade? Interesting guy. No idea who Asher Wade is. Psychotherapist. I don't know. Nasara says lies. Wes Huff doesn't own a goat. Interesting. Wes Huff, Pakistani ISI agent confirmed spying on CIA double agent Sean Ryan. Nice. Gimina Donati says Ben absolutely scrambled Candace's blitzkriegs. Sheikh Uthman marriage counseling. David would show some respect to Wes Huff. Wes is the Mike Winger of Pakistan. He's the second in line to the global Wingerling Caliphate. This is true. Adabian, Quran was printed in the Gutenberg press. The great falafel Father David Wood, exactly. He's not telling us the future of New York. This is true. Kit Kat, Mr. Wood looks like a detective from an early 1900s crime movie. He does indeed. Baz the Dark Horse, Dawood has time traveled to the 1950s. Candace was right. You see,
this proves Candace's time traveling theories.
Dude, I'm like every single day another stupid Candace clip comes out, and it just gets worse and worse and worse every single time, man. I could make a live stream about Candace every single day to just review the garbage that she puts out there.
You know what's funny? She could, after all this nonsense, if she's like completely eventually exposed and no one takes her seriously anymore, she could just come out and say, guys, I was performing an experiment the entire time. I wanted to know like what people would fall for if I just kept getting more and more extreme with all the idiotic nonsense. But yeah, just so you know, I don't believe any of the stuff I was saying. It was all part of an experiment. Now I'm back to the real me when I'm serious. And people will be like, oh, okay, good.
Luke Blaze, $2 to press the Christianity is based button. I will do that.
Christianity is based.
Camden, happy Dihya Al-Qalbi Remembrance Day. We have Zut Day, now let's have Dihya Day today. Spread the love of Muhammad and Dihya this special day. We should do that, man. Valentine's Day should be Dihya Day. Gokudo, the Quran is basically Bible fan fiction made by Muhammad. Fox McCloud, Muhammad was exposed orally. This is proof. Yeah. Jack Ray, Muhammad just tripped in the desert and Al Zut were just helping him up all night long. This is very, very much true. Fox McCloud, Muhammad was exposed in the desert. Do you know what that smells like? Loaves of bread. Jake's rebuttal bad. I suffered through over 9 hours of watching David Wood. So please check out my 5 Ways of Jake Kune Dawa YouTube channel. Shorts, something. Cool. Jack Ray, hey, Muhammad was a creator of many Islamic dilemmas. He was indeed. Raisin Bread, I don't always agree with Jay Dyer theologically, but I think he can really challenge Islam and Muslims very well, that very few can do. I wish him all the best. HCRO5, Sahih Bukhari 5517. Is
you
that
don't
a
even know your numbers
of the bird Jesus created? It would be the strongest argument for Muhammad being a true prophet.
You don't need to look that up. That's the hadith that just says, I saw Muhammad eat chicken. That's that dumb hadith. I saw Muhammad eat chicken. That's the whole story.
This is the most profound account ever. One day, it was narrated by Abu Musa al-Ashari that I saw the Prophet eat chicken.
Alhamdulillah, this is the proof. How could anyone who's not a true prophet eat chicken? This is the proof.
Jack Ray, what did the horse say to Muhammad? Hey, this is a one horse town. I'll zut be upon him. Crusader culture, a limerick for you. Uthman was once a big sheikh who challenged the world for an open debate. The team went to masjid, yet Uthman went and hid. Now everyone calls him Uthman the fake. Nice.
That they do.
Nice. Steve Sine says, Libiano mocked me on his live stream when I cited 3 Muslim scholars who accepted the fact that Jesus was crucified, including an Ayatollah. Yeah, Libiano is a dummy. All right, let's continue.
And so you have these things that get smuggled into the text of the Quran, but they're jumbled. And they have, so there are characters that are in some places that shouldn't be in others. Haman, who is from the book of Esther, ends up in the Exodus story as the right-hand man to Pharaoh. Well, there are hundreds of years between the Persian story of Esther and the Egyptian story of Moses and Pharaoh. So there's confusion and conflation that's going on. Mm-hmm. And I was, at least when I was reading the Quran early on, aware of the biblical narratives. And so when I'm reading the Quran and I'm reading some of the Quran's versions of these stories, it's not hard to pick up on where they're just not right.
Gotcha.
And ultimately, Surah 4, verse 157, that denies the crucifixion.
Hey, he got it right this time.
Pretty serious one.
What?
Wait a minute. So he did know it. See?
Mm-hmm. Surah 4, verse 157.
See? Ha-ha! In your face.
That denies the crucifixion. That's a pretty serious one.
What does it say? What does it say? I mean, it denies the crucifixion.
Yeah, it says that he was neither killed nor was he crucified, but it was made to appear to them. And it says that even those who proclaim it are in doubt about it. So part of the problem is that there's a little bit of ambiguity in the wording of the Arabic. So
true. Some
Islamic exegetes and interpreters have interpreted this as he wasn't killed, but he was put on the cross and crucified. Others take that, but it was made to appear to them, and take that as what's sometimes called the substitution theory, where someone else was made to look like Jesus and put in his place. That's a minority view, but it is a view that some scholars like Shabir Ali.
Wait, what? What did he just say?
I said it's a minority view.
No, one, it's a majority view, and it's not Shabir Ali's view. Shabir Ali believes, unless I just completely misheard him right here. The majority view is substitution theory. Shabir Ali's view is that Jesus was crucified, but he survived crucifixion.
So what's your problem?
And take that as what's sometimes called the substitution theory, where someone else was made to look like Jesus and put in his place. That's a minority view, but it is a view that some scholars like Shabir Ali has articulated in the past, the Ahmadiyya sect of Islam that they hold. And they actually believe that
I'm pretty sure he misspoke.
I think he reversed the views. Other than that, he's correct. So it's the substitution theory, that is the majority view, but he also mentioned the view that people think that Jesus was put on the cross but survived, and that is the view of Shabir Ali and the Ahmadis. So yeah, he just kind of flipped him while he was speaking.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened here.
I back up. That was a mistake.
Stop attacking.
Oh, hey, he just said, let me back up.
Well, they believe actually. So I back up. That was a mistake.
Oh, see, he realized it.
That.
You see, Huff
admits he's wrong. So back up. That was a mistake.
He lied.
They don't believe that. They believe that Jesus was on the cross, but he survived, which is called the Moon theory.
There we go.
In the crucifixion, when it says that he did not die nor was he crucified, it's that he wasn't crucified all the way because he didn't die, but that actually he recovered afterwards. And they have a story about him going to India and living to over 100 years and having a family and that kind of thing. But there is some ambiguity in the historical commentaries, the tafsir on this particular passage, to where there's debate even amongst Muslims as, is this a full outright denial of the crucifixion? That's what the kind of mainstream Sunni Orthodox perspective would be. But some believe that maybe Judas was dressed up like Jesus and he was put on the cross in Jesus's place, or that Jesus recovered, or that it never happened. It was all an illusion to begin with. But no matter which way you swing it, it's still a denial of one of the most established facts of all of history.
Yeah.
Even like the most skeptical of biblical scholars, if they can say we can basically know nothing about the details of Jesus's life, we can say that he was crucified under Pontius Pilate, because we have so many intersecting sources, Christian and non-Christian alike.
Wow. So are they bringing up?
There is something very funny about the fact that so the Quran traditionally understood argues that that Jesus was not crucified, and it basically kind of blames those who do believe that he was crucified and calls them doubters and things like that. It appears to assume that there is a very popular narrative that he wasn't actually crucified, and that that only those who are mistaken about Jesus actually believe he was crucified, and then affirms the position that he was not crucified. And you have to kind of wonder why in the world the Quran would make such an assertion, why Allah would have this whole discussion. It is clear that if Islam were true and Allah was indeed in charge, then it was Allah himself who apparently made it appear as if Jesus was crucified, and made almost everyone, except for a tiny, tiny little minority, believe that Jesus was indeed crucified. Why would he do that?
Yeah. And guess what? Combine that with you. Well, you also had Muslim scholars, and even Shabir Ali has said this, that as far as the resurrection appearances to the apostles, you've had Muslim commentators and scholars claim they think Allah allowed Jesus to appear to his followers to comfort them, but they misunderstood it and concluded that he had risen from the dead. But think about this. Think about this. The core elements, the key elements of the gospel are Jesus' death by crucifixion, his resurrection from the dead, and his divine nature, right? Jesus taught his followers all kinds of things, but in the book of Acts, when the apostles go out preaching, you see they always come back to Jesus died, he rose from the dead, and he's Lord. And why is that interesting? Well, according to what we're hearing, even from Muslims and from the Quran itself, Allah's actually the one who's responsible for all three of those claims. He made it look like Jesus died. He allowed Jesus to appear to his followers, which led them to conclude that he had been resurrected. And he has Jesus, who's a spirit from Allah. He's the word of Allah, who creates in exactly the same way that Allah creates, when that's creating is Allah's criterion for when you can call on someone as a God. And Allah is responsible for Christian belief in all three. So it's like Allah, when you want to say Christianity was corrupted or Jesus' message was corrupted, Allah is responsible for the Christian gospel. And Muslims say it's all false, but Allah made everyone think it. Why? Why'd Allah do that, man?
Because Allah is the troublemaker, the deceiver, the mischievous deity, the mischievous God. That's what Allah is. That's what he does. That's his job.
Allah is more like Loki. Loki.
Yes. Allah is low-key like Loki.
He's low-key like Loki.
Yeah.
Is the only point of bringing up Christianity, the crucifixion, Jesus, Moses, everybody, that plays a role in the Bible, is it to discredit Christianity in the Quran?
I think the answer to that would be yes and no. There's a clear line of succession within the Quran. And I think part of this is the confusion on the author of the Quran's part, that they thought they knew what the Torah and the Gospel were. So the Torah and the Injil, the Torah and the Gospel, are referred to multiple times within the Quran itself. And
I actually want to bring something up, if I can bring it up. I have been working on for the longest time now, and I haven't been working on it this entire time, but a long time ago, I started preparing a document in which I had listed all references that the
That's
Quran
funny.
makes to Christians.
Hey, that's funny. Hold up.
What?
You said I've been working on something. I was like, oh no, another song. and all of a sudden you're like, no, a document. I was like, wait, he's working on a document and not just a song?
No, yes, no. So by document, I mean I simply decided to pick out all Quran verses which mention or which allude to or mention Christians and put them into their chronological order as far as we know, their chronology of Revelation, and wanted to go through every single one of them one by one. So and I want to actually share some of it here to explain what exactly I want to point out here, since this question is coming up right here and right now. Hang on.
Right here, right now.
So there
Why
is
do you cross out all your own stuff?
because I was including them in a little article or text that I was preparing or a script I was preparing, and this is where it stopped. So I took all of the Quran verses which mention or allude to Christians and put all of them into chronological order, and this is very much it. I still have to probably nowadays sit down and check if I put them all in the right order. Also put the links to all of those in here because I thought it would be a very very now I see how I summarized things in some ways in my own dumb words.
Very dumb.
How the Quran shifts initially from being completely being friendly to the Christians to being completely hostile toward the Christians at the very end, chronologically speaking. And the first verse, chronologically speaking, that addresses Christians is chapter 2, verse 62, which is also very, very funny, because chapter 2, verse 62 was, according to the Islamic tradition, revealed only more than 10 years after the prophethood of Muhammad started. Right, so for 10 years he declared himself prophet. He was supposedly sent by the very same God, by the very same Allah, but the Quran makes no mention of Christians for 10 years until Muhammad travels to Medina, where he then suddenly starts talking about Jews and Christians endlessly. So and that is where it starts. It starts out with this initial, hey, Jews and Christians have nothing to fear. Allah will reward them for everything, and they are very, very good and all that. And then it gets to Jews and Christians have wrong beliefs. They need to correct themselves. Jews and Christians need to agree with us that we have the same Allah and the same religion. Jews and Christians need to stop arguing with us. Jews and Christians should listen to us. Jews and Christians need to behave themselves. Jews and Christians need to be subjugated and humiliated and forced to renounce their religion and die. Basically, this is the progression of the sentiments of the Quran toward Jews and Christians. It came up to try and legitimize Muhammad as a prophet sent by the very same Abrahamic God, and then turned into Christianity is evil and false, basically. That's the context. I'll work on it still.
And you have a kind of you have succession language, that the Torah was given to Moses and it was full of guidance and light, and the gospel was given to Jesus and it was full of guidance and light, and then the final revelation is the Quran. But there's almost a tacit implication that they're all saying basically the same thing, and that God's message is unified across all of them. The problem with that is that we know what the Torah and the gospel looked like in the 7th century in Muhammad's day. It doesn't look any different than what we have now. But I don't think that I don't see any evidence that the author of the Quran knew what the Torah or the gospel were. So you have 9.
That is very, very accurate. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
The author of the Quran repeatedly refers to the Torah and the Injil, but the author of the Quran actually has no idea. So the Injil meaning gospel, taken from the Greek evangelion, but the author of the Quran also has at the same time no idea what the Torah actually is and what the gospel is, what the Torah and the gospel reveal, what they contain, what they are about, the author of the Quran knows nothing about these things except that these are the scriptures that Jews and Christians seemingly believe in. That's it.
And it's just like, what kind of idiot has no clue what's in certain books and affirms them as the inspired, preserved, authoritative word of God, and has no clue what's in them and doesn't even realize how they contradict his own religion? What kind of idiot would do that? Like, hey, I hear some people got a book. Let me affirm it as the inspired, preserved, authoritative word of God.
You're sick.
Smart.
Sick.
Yeah.
Smart.
100 approximately either direct quotations or allusions of
Hang on. Very important.
knew what the Torah or the gospel were. So you have 900 approximately either direct quotations or allusions of the Old Testament in the New Testament. In the Quran, you only have one in quotation of either the Old or the New Testament, the lex talionis, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. So in terms of the synchronicity of the Quran to these previous books, it's lacking.
Did you hear that, David?
Lacking.
He says that the New Testament has over, what they say, 900.
And
See, let's see this again since you didn't pay
Over
attention.
9,000.
approximately either direct quotation on knew what the Torah or the gospel were.
Pay attention, David.
So you have 900 approximately either direct quotations or allusions of the Old Testament in the New Testament. In the Quran, you only have one in quotation of either the Old or the New Testament, the lex talionis, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. So in terms of the synchronicity of the Quran to these previous books, it's lacking.
What do you think about this point? In your faith.
Yeah.
The New Testament has over 900 quotations and allusions to the Old Testament, whereas the Quran has only one quotation or such to the
One
Old.
quotation. You also have one from the Psalms. That in Surah 5, quoting the lex talionis. That's the clearest one. But you do have some stories. So if you're counting allusions in the New Testament, you would count allusions to these stories and figures in the Quran as well. But yeah, it's quotations, not good.
Yeah. I mean, we know that the New Testament abundantly quotes the Old Testament directly. And the Quran doesn't do it at all. Doesn't do it at all, except for one phrase, which is very, very interesting. Very suspicious indeed. Very, very suspicious.
To say the least. It's not...
I mean, it would be, right? It would be, I wouldn't say it would be a requirement, right? Or a necessity, or, this must absolutely be the case if it is indeed the same author. But it would be very, it would be kind of natural to expect that the Quran directly quotes and continues, if it is indeed the continuation of the Bible as it claims to be, that it quotes and properly continues the previous scripture. But the Quran doesn't do that at all. It always simply claims that it is the continuation, but has no connection to it at all. It is in complete contradiction, and never actually itself argues that those scriptures were corrupted. But Muslims nowadays have to argue that those scriptures were corrupted, because they then later found out, because of Muhammad's stupidity, that the previous scriptures are scriptures that are completely incompatible with Islam, which shows that the author of the Quran had no idea what those scriptures actually contained.
An organic cultural document like the New Testament is. The New Testament was predominantly written by Jews for Jews and is saturated in Hebraic and Jewish and Old Testament understanding.
Then I think he's paid by Israel. He's paid by Israel to talk about Jews. Why else is he saying that Jews are good?
Understandings. If you don't understand something about what's going on in the New Testament, going back and reading the Old Testament might actually help you, because there's just so much symbolism and calling back to, and the gospel authors Jesus is paralleled with Moses and David, and there are all these things. But the author of the Quran, I think, is aware of some of these Jewish, Christian, and Zoroastrian fables, is assuming that those are what's going on, and so he's baking those into the text, maybe with the implication to kind of woo the Christians and the Jews to come over to his side. But you see, so I think it's there's one.
Wes Huff was paid $7,000 by Netanyahu himself for this.
Passage in the Quran that says,
Serious, man.
it has this kind of succession narrative, right? It talks about the gospel, or the Torah being full of guidance and light and being given to Moses, and then the gospel being full of guidance and light given to Jesus. And then it says, let the people of the gospel judge by what they have therein. Talking to Christians, right? Those are the people of the gospel, the Al-Injil. But if they do not judge by what they have therein, they are the defiantly disobedient.
Nice.
Now, in the grammatical
Look at it. Wes Huff is using my argument.
context, what they have therein for the people of the gospel is the gospel. So when I'm talking to my Muslim friends, sometimes I open to this passage.
He says Muslim friends is like, oh, I can't be a racist. I have black friends.
Nice try, Wes. Maybe that'll fly with Mike Winger.
And I say, like, hey, I don't want to be one of the defiantly disobedient. I want to stand before God and not have that on my shoulders. However, in order to be obedient to this passage, and I judge using the gospel, which it's telling me to do, and I judge the Quran by the gospel, I find the Quran doesn't understand the gospel, has no earthly understanding of what I believe, and actually denies central points of it: the divinity of Christ, the crucifixion. And so if the Quran is true and it's telling me to do this, then I have to conclude that the Quran is false, because it's telling me to do something that's an impossibility. I cannot judge the Quran by the gospel and find that the Quran actually understands what the gospel is saying.
Hey, that's exactly what I argued in my debate with Jake.
Oh, so you stole Wes Huff's version of the argument.
No, he stole mine.
He's
What
been using this for over a year.
What he did was he listened to my debate, and then he thought, oh, okay, this is a very good argument. I should be using this.
And he built a time machine and went back in time and started using it years ago.
Exactly.
And so this kind of, my Muslim friends often have large articulation. What you have in the gospel isn't what they have in the gospel.
I always say my Muslim friends.
I think that's highly problematic. I don't see any reason why in the 7th century, a gospel would be any different than it is to what it is now, especially when, in my own study, in manuscript studies, I can find copies of the gospel in Syriac from Syria in the 6th and 7th centuries. It reads exactly like what my gospel reads today.
And we have multiple
maybe in Syriac.
We have complete copies, complete manuscripts of the New Testament from centuries before Muhammad, and they're identical to the one that we have today in content.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Multiple different ones from different regions, and they are identical to the New Testament today. We have incomplete manuscripts, even more of those from different regions, and they are identical in content to the New Testament we have today. So there is simply no way, it is an impossibility that the gospel or the New Testament was somehow different during the time of Muhammad, and then it later on got corrupted or something like that. It is fantasy. It's sci-fi. It's not possible. It's nonsense. So the Quran was clearly referring to the very same New Testament, to the very same gospel that we have today in content, and was affirming it and thereby refuting itself.
So it's not that there's no evidence for that. Or if that is the case, and the Quran says that nobody can change God's words, and the gospel
Fine, they were 99.9% the same.
is God's word, who changed it? Who was able to kind of thwart the God of Islam's ability to preserve his word in that endeavor. He was either unable to do it, or he didn't do that. And when he says no one can change my words in the Quran, it's not true. And so ultimately, I think Muslims have a problem. They're painted into these corners. They have these passages about the Torah and the gospel, and yet the Quran doesn't seem to understand what those are, or just flat out contradict it. The Quran denies the crucifixion when we know that the crucifixion happened. And so they're kind of painted themselves into these corners in defending these particular positions. And I don't think that they can stand up to scrutiny.
That is, I mean, I've never studied it. I've never read it. I find it very interesting how much of the Bible is.
You know what's funny? I think that when what's his name again? Sean Ryan. I think when he initially asked the question, his question was, what kind of things does the Quran teach? What kind of teachings are in the Quran? I think he was trying to get more of a regular, like, tell us what the Quran says kind of answer out of Wes Huff, but Wes Huff fully went into this whole the plausibility, the probability of Islam being true, the flaws of the Quran, and all that, and was given more than he actually asked for, but it became very interesting. So
it's very Wes Huff. Someone asks you what the Quran teaches. You say, well, submission to Allah, but you can only submit to Allah by submitting to everything Muhammad says. So here are some of the things that Muhammad says, and here are some of the things that Allah says. And, they get condensed. The main things get condensed down to your most fundamental practices. These are the 5 pillars, and the most fundamental required beliefs. These are the 6 articles of faith. Of course, not everyone's going to accept these things, and so you have to impose submission on them, hence jihad, and that's how it all ties together.
Nice.
Very nice.
Very, very, very nice.
In there. That's
I mean, Jesus is a central figure. He's even referred to as the Messiah, although it's ambiguous in Islamic.
There we go. See, now he's going into what Islam teaches.
Understanding what that means.
You completely lied to him.
He's said to be sinless. He's said to be virgin born. He's said to be the one who's going to come back at the end of time. So there are all of these things. Like, Jesus is a prominent character. Like I said before, mentioned 25 times, far more than Muhammad is mentioned. In fact, the only woman named in the entire Quran is Mary, the mother of Jesus. And so
that is very true.
These figures have prominence within the Islamic Holy Book, but ultimately they have no full historical understanding of who they are.
Wow, very interesting.
I might make a short video. I've made a video about Wes Huff's version of the Islamic Dilemma before, which was awesome because Wes is the one who started getting.
You mean my argument?
So Wes Huff got his argument from IP, and then went, built a time machine and went back in time to argue that. But when Wes started presenting AP's version of the Islamic Dilemma, it was interesting because since it was on very popular podcasts with millions of views and so on, Muslims actually started responding to it. They started responding to the Islamic Dilemma, which was cool because they, for the most part, were trying to avoid it and so on. But Wes actually gives like the simplest version. Like, I lay out my argument in terms of inspiration and preservation and authority and so on. But guess what? Not most Christians are not going to like learn all those verses and so on. So if you wanted like a super simple version, he gives it. He just goes with Surah 5, verse 47. Allah orders me to judge by the gospel. So I can either obey Allah and judge by the gospel, in which case I have to reject what he says because it contradicts the gospel, or I can reject what Allah says and not judge by the gospel. So I either reject Allah or I reject Allah. Tell me, Muslims, which would you prefer? That's it. Simple version. Everyone can do that. Everyone can do that. So probably make one and just call it the simplest version.
I've been preparing a script on that very topic. It just, since I haven't done this in a long time, it takes me a while to finish it. I'm trying to flesh it out as much as possible, and also kind of make it the way I used to do things, so that it is it can be used not only as a Christian argument, but as an objective argument to refute Islam, no matter what kind of worldview you hold.
Yeah,
because
any atheist can run the Islamic dilemma. Say, hey, I don't believe in the Bible. I don't believe in the Quran. But the Quran affirms the Bible and contradicts the Bible. So guess what? I'm right. I'm obviously right for rejecting the Quran.
No, I'm preparing the thing, the whole approach that I also did against Jake during the debate, and also some of the stuff that Wes just explained here and hinted at. But just point out that while it focuses on Christians and Christianity and the gospel, it is not a Christian argument. It is simply an argument against Islam that can be used by anybody, no matter what you believe in, no matter what you believe to be true. Because it is an internal critique, an internal inconsistency, an internal incoherence of the Quran, and proves, and yes, I am aware of the gravity of the word proves, it proves that Islam is false. It proves that Islam is a false religion. It proves that Islam is full of nonsense. And no, I'm not saying it's just some evidence. No, I'm saying it absolutely proves that Islam is false. And I shall present that further in a video, inshallah. Let's take a few super chats. Norm Old Man says, did you see Mary's presentation on the Reasoned Answer stream yesterday? It was a banger, not in the Al-Zut sense, maybe. Which presentation?
I think that might be the one. She's been talking about it for a while, but that may be the one from yesterday. But she's been planning to. She's been saying she has a case that Muhammad's mother was actually a prostitute.
Interesting. I just saw the thumbnail at the same moment that you said the word prostitute, so that was kind of funny. I didn't check it out. I'll check it out. I'll put it on the list. Muhammad's mother was a streetwalker, revealing the clues hidden deep in Islamic lore. Interesting. We'll check it out. I am always interested in fringe theories.
I'm surprised they didn't make it. Muhammad's mom was a whore.
That's how somebody else would do it. Jesus loves USM. On behalf of every person ever, we love Mike Winger. I agree completely. This is totally based.
It is totally based.
Crusader culture. Can you ever really believe a deceiver? No, you can't. Zoot Hub, we are always up, says, could you make this document in song form? Dude, don't tempt me to such nonsensical things. I'm going to end up doing it. Crusader culture, I'm just saying, some of these sheikhs are pretty good at deceiving people. I'm just starting to doubt if Allah really is the best of deceivers. I don't think he's the best of deceivers, but I think in his own mind, Allah is the best of deceivers. Jack Ray, Quran, Lose Your Illusions Tour. Candace is harder. Raisin Bread, Bangladesh narrowly escaped Islamic rule when Jamaat Islami didn't win the recent election. Could you react to the Al Jazeera interview of Jamaat Islami President Shafiq Rahman? This man called working women prostitutes in an X post. He later claimed his X account was hacked. I have not heard anything about it, but it sounds interesting, and I'm sure David is making a video about it as we speak. Danny Soldier, hey guys, God bless you both. God bless you too. I've been studying more the history of Islam, and I'm reading a book called Answering Islam. What other books on Islam are good to read? Well, I have a suggestion. I think that one important book to read is the book that David just never wants to write and publish, which is called The Islamic Dilemma by David Wood. Other than that, the other book that I have announced and prepared and written an outline for, but never finished writing and never published, is The End of Islam by myself. Those are my two main recommendations.
You already had a video titled that, man.
David's book might come out this year, and my book might come out within the next 20 years. So I would suggest those. Other than that, David, what are your suggestions?
If you're talking about Answering Islam, written by Norm Geisler and Abdul Salib, that is an awesome book. Definitely top 3 of all time. That was that was the only book I read in prison on Islam. But, there were Muslims there, and started having discussions with Muslims. So I got Answering Islam. Awesome book. Yeah, like the first third of the book is just explaining what Islam teaches. There's no criticism at all. Like Muslims would read the first third of the book and say that is an awesome explanation of Islam. And then the second third of the book, it's a response to Muslim claims. And in the final third of the book, it's a defense of Christianity in light of Muslim objections. So that's an awesome book. And as far as if you want the history of Islam, you can get all kinds of books on the history of Islam. You definitely want Robert
Oh, wait,
Spencer.
it's about the history of Islam. Sorry, I have to suggest one here, which is I always make the suggestion: Robert G. Hoyland, In the Path of God.
So there's that for history, but especially relevant is the history of jihad. So get Robert Spencer's book.
Sorry, it's called In God's Path.
Yeah, get Robert Spencer's book, A History of Jihad. Awesome stuff.
And In God's Path, but by Robert Hoyland. I absolutely loved that book. I also talked to himself, the author, Robert G. Hoyland himself. Fantastic book to get an insight into Islamic history.
Awful book.
Amazing. And now that somebody suggested I should make a song about that document, I remembered that I always wanted to make a parody of that Rihanna song, Umbrella, but with Jordan Peterson's voice saying,
"How about no? I don't buy your Ella.
I don't buy your Ella, eh?
I don't buy your Ella."
Paul, video suggestion. I assume you heard of Carrie Prejean I have no idea how to say her name. Prejean incident. While she rejects Zionism, she embraces Islam. Clips addressing this can be viral on X. I have seen it. I think over the last few months, I have become extremely exhausted with the whole so-called anti-Zionist circles that always end up being complete nut jobs. So I did see it. I don't know, but I haven't looked further into whatever she does. I did see that she ended up saying, like, calling people goyim and all that. Very, very anti-Zionist, of course. Danny Soldier. Another thing I recently had a conversion with a Muslim girl, and no matter what historical evidence I showed her on Jesus' crucifixion, she still does not believe. What rational mind does that? David, what do you suggest? Give you a 5-minute answer to this.
Yeah, it's not just about the historical evidence. The main thing you'd want a Muslim to think about is, okay, Christians believe, it's foundational to Christianity, that Jesus died by crucifixion. And it's considered a fact even by non-Christian scholars. So atheist scholars, agnostic scholars, Jewish scholars, everyone considers Jesus' death by crucifixion an indisputable fact of history. Bart Ehrman, all these guys, they say it, right? Now, so if that's false, Muslims claim that's false. Your Muslim friend, the Muslim girl is claiming that's false. It's a false belief. Okay, where did that false belief come from? Who produced that false belief? The false belief of billions of people. Who's responsible for that false belief? Allah. Allah, according to Muslims, is the one who tricked people into believing that Jesus died on the cross. So what you'd want to focus on is, why did Allah deliberately deceive literally billions of people about Jesus' death? And like, what does that say about Allah? And why would he corrupt the message of his own prophet in such a way that it gave rise to Christianity? In other words, there's no Christianity without belief in Jesus' death on the cross. There's none. It would have never started. Where did belief in Jesus' death on the cross come from? Allah, not the Apostle Paul, not the Council of Nicaea, not any of that. It came from Allah. So what you'd want your Muslim friend to think about, because they never think about this, why did Allah start Christianity and trick billions of people into believing something that's false? Why? Why did he do that? And such that all the evidence, as you're pointing, that's where the evidence comes in. All the evidence tells us Jesus died by crucifixion, but Allah is responsible for all the evidence. So Allah is responsible for creating this mountain of evidence against the Quran. Why would he do that? That's where I'd go with that.
Very, very nice. Very, very, very nice.
I don't buy your Ella.
Apostolic Apprentice says, so is the Iranian Revolution a bust? Wait to see. It's not over. RKD, did you see PBD math breakdowns of religions that create better society? Yikes, zooted by the numbers. I did see a post on that, and I saw Muslims losing their minds over it. I didn't see the video itself yet. Christians, let's see. It would be a thing worth watching. It would be a thing worth watching indeed. So Patrick Bet David posted a video of a math breakdown. Where can I find Patrick Bet David? Patrick Bet David. Patrick Bet David.
I've been thinking about just because it was like trending and stuff for several days. I mean, as far as what I saw, it was basically look at the number of millionaires who are Christians versus the number of millionaires who are in Muslim countries and things like that.
Oh, that's a terrible argument. I mean, maybe it's not terrible, but I don't know. It seems like a very, very bad focus of things. Let me see. Which religion creates a better society? Religion population: Christianity 32%, Islam 25%. Billionaire population by religion: Christianity 33%, Islam 7%. Millionaire population by religion: Christianity 56%, Islam 6%. Watch in its entirety.
What countries that send the people here?
Oh, it's a 25-minute video. Yeah, I only saw a short video and I thought it was a short. Yeah, I just interesting. I didn't know it was a long video.
I mean, maybe he only focuses on millionaire and billionaire in the caption, but there might be more to it in the video itself.
That's what I mean. If it's 25 minutes, then yeah, I just thought he posted like a short, like 4 or 5 minute video breaking that down. But
what an Islamophobe, man.
Yeah, it's pretty racist.
Racist.
He's racist against Middle Easterners.
Racist against Islam. Ein Bär mit Berliner. Your name was Ein Berliner mit Berliner. No, what the heck?
He's only been here like 1,000 times, man. Why is that shocking to you now?
His name was different.
No, it was Ein Bär mit Berliner. It's always been that.
No, it was no. That can't be right. Ein Berliner. What the hell?
Ich bin ein Berliner.
Hey, Ein Bär mit Berliner. Did you change your name? Wasn't it something else?
It was Ein Bär mit Berliner.
Did I just read it wrong the entire time?
You probably did because you're foreign.
It's literally German. Did you just change that, or have I been misreading it? Or am I just misremembering? Am I being? I don't know what's happening. Didn't Chris at Speaker's Corner write a book about the Islamic dilemma?
Yeah, it's not out yet. Yeah, but yeah, everyone needs that, and that will be a book that's, guys, that needs to be in like seminaries and stuff. People need to, I mean, everyone needs to be reading it, but that needs to be used to educate the next generation so that the next generation knows the Islamic dilemma.
Nice. Kit Kat, Mike Jones' favorite fan, says, oh, a book club. I had to leave for a minute and came back to you recommending books. I know I want to once again recommend this book, and I want to point out that it is very unusual of me to do that. I so often recommend this book, despite the fact that I get literally no benefit from this at all.
What's that dumb book about?
In God's Path by Robert G. Hoyland. It's simply that I find it incredibly helpful. And there are very few books that actually do this. The Arab Conquests and the Creation of an Islamic Empire. It is very, very well written. And
320 pages, too long. Gotta keep it under 200.
I think everybody who is interested in Islamic history should read this. It gives a very, very good account of how things actually happened in real life under Islam, including stuff that surprised me initially, which was, of course, we learn how Islam has this system, the dhimmi system and all that, of going out and fighting the disbelievers and subjugating them and making them choose between Islam and subjugation and all that. But most of the time in the early century and centuries of Islam, the Muslim conquerors didn't even take that into consideration. They didn't even care. They simply went and conquered and slaughtered, and didn't really initially offer people the whole chance of converting or becoming subjects. They simply went and conquered and pillaged, and only later on turned toward converting the population. In fact, on many occasions, there was a very big push from within to prevent people from converting to Islam, because keeping them as non-Muslims would simply be a nice source of income for them, whereas converting them to Islam or offering them Islam would reduce the share that Muslims have from the protection money that they take from non-Muslims, because then those non-Muslims will become Christians, will become Muslims, and will also have to take property and all that. So it's a very, very good book. I can't possibly do it justice. Read it for yourself. Paul, David Wood, Black, White proves Charlie was a time traveler. Very, very much. Ein Bär mit Berliner says AP is right. Until now, it was ein Berliner mit Berliner. Haha! You see? Aber ich habe nichts geändert. That means, but I didn't change anything. YouTube is zooting us. You see, Bristol is sicher total unschuldig. Brussels is, I'm sure, very innocent. LOL. That's funny. But I was right. Your name changed. Huh. Jay Pendragon, I'm here to remind y'all about the Islamic trilemma. What do you mean I'm a month early? What's the Islamic trilemma?
He put that you could formulate it differently to be a trilemma, and I said, yep, that's a good point, and told him to remind me in a month if he doesn't see it, because I wouldn't mind putting down an Islamic trilemma.
Okay, remind us in a month. All right. Anything else, David?
Nope.
Cool. Are you going live tomorrow?
Yep.
Cool.
It's Sunday.
Sunday,
bloody Sunday.
Somebody should make a video about this here. Here's Nardine Kizwani, who is a famous terrorist supporter and Palestinian, which is kind of redundant to specify. She's a Hamas supporter from New York who posted the following. Finally, New York City is coming to Islam. Dogs definitely have a place in society, just not as indoor pets. Like we have said all along, they are unclean. This is a discussion in New York City about dogs in public places, which she immediately hijacked and turned into dogs should not be pets indoors. And then she adds to it, like we have said all along, they are unclean. What she means by like we have said all along is what Islam has said all along, is that dogs are unclean. Somebody should make a video about how this is the Islamic sentiment.
I literally just screenshotted that so I can find her later and make a video and then go through what Muhammad said about dogs in the hadiths.
Powerful.
And why she's saying this.
And you could jump on the trend of talking about New York City and dogs.
Mm-hmm.
New York City.
New York City.
All right. Anything else, David?
Nope. That's it.
That's it. All right. Okay. Thanks everybody for watching. 2 more super chats. I'm Billionaire says, "Hey David Wood, how can I trust in what you say anymore when you can't even remember my name after more than 1 year together?"
You can't.
See, well, there you go. Everything that David says from now on should always be scrutinized and doubted, considering that he can't even remember this simple piece of information. Aussie Abe says, Dizzle being black and white reminds me of Momo and the Al Zoot. That makes a lot of sense. It took me a second. Now I get it. What's wrong with you?
Black and white.
Ein Berliner Pena says, AP, you didn't read my member super chat. I probably did not, because it didn't come up. I don't know. I apologize. All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching. As always, thanks for watching. God bless you all. I will be back soon. Have a fantastic day, and as they say in the goat language,
stay away from Islam.